Alrighty, Jake Stuart here with the National Sports Media Association. Today, I'm joined with David Steele, Florida Sportscaster of the Year. David, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome, Jake. It's good to be with you.
David, you're the Orlando Magic play-by-play. This is your 33rd season and 24th as the play-by-play for the team. You've done all kinds of work with University of Florida back in your day, and you were inducted into the Magic Hall of Fame back in 2014. Obviously, all kinds of accolades, and you've been into this industry a very long time. What brought you in the first place?
Well, I was an athlete as a young kid. You know, I played all the sports. I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, which was a great place to grow up back in the '60s, and so I played all the sports. I was a pretty good baseball player. Played high school baseball, high school varsity basketball, and got a scholarship to a small college to play baseball in East Tennessee. And so when your playing career ends, wherever that off ramp might be, for me, it was after my freshman year of college. As a competitive athlete, you start thinking about what can I do, and you know, some people start thinking about that earlier, but I didn't really think about it too much, assuming that I was just going to be a professional baseball player for the rest of my life. But you know, the maturity kicks in, and you try and figure out what you really want to do for the rest of your life. And I felt like I could do this. I was a student at the time at the University of Georgia, and I just walked into the campus radio station to ask if they would, you know, have a job to do some sports, and they put me on the air. Really didn't do an audition or anything. I think they were more concerned about the music back in the early '70s than they were about sports. And so I was the guy, the sports guy for the campus radio station at the University of Georgia. I got a job for a local radio station in Athens when I was a senior in college, doing morning news and sports and on the weekends. And so that's where it started for me. My first job out of college was a small television station in Panama City, Florida, WJHG Channel 7. I was the sports director there for about 2.5 years, and then moved up to the Asheville, Greenville, Spartanburg market as a sportscaster on Channel 13, WLOS TV. I was there for about 4.5 years. And then the big break in play-by-play, I started doing play-by-play in Asheville for Western Carolina University on radio when I was there in the early '80s. And my big break in play-by-play came when the Gators hired me in 1982 to be their radio announcer, play-by-play announcer on radio. So I was there for 7 years, and then jumped to the NBA with the Magic in 1989. I did radio play-by-play for 9 years, and then moved over to television when Chip Carey left to broadcast Major League Baseball. They slid me into the television seat, and I've been doing TV play-by-play for the Magic since. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version.
Wow, that's an awesome story, and you know, clearly you've been all over the place. It's pretty cool. I'm sure you have a ton of stories to tell. I wanted to ask you, kind of building off of what you just said, what would you say is the difference, or some of the pros and cons between your work with radio versus TV? What are some of the differences?
Well, you know, there are big differences. It feels like really two different animals. As you probably know, radio play-by-play is much more descriptive. You're solely responsible for the entertainment of the audience. So your ability to paint the picture, describe what's going on, keep the score and the time in front and center as well. So, you know, people listening that are in and out on radio can tell what's going on. You know, that's critical. On TV, it's more the analyst really takes the spotlight. You just kind of guide it along and try and make it as entertaining as possible, but at the same time, just give your analyst plenty of room to dissect what's going on. You know, as you know, the fan can see what's happening. So it's a different thing. It took me some time to adapt from radio play-by-play to TV, but I think it's easier to go that direction than it would be to go the other. Probably a little easier to pull back than it is to drop the hammer on your intense play-by-play call on radio. I love both mediums. Radio is really as a play-by-play announcer. Radio, for me anyhow, is more fun to do because you know you really do have the opportunity to describe what's going on and you have a chance maybe to be a little more creative. There are ways to be creative on television as well, but they're different. But you know, I love doing both.
Now, David, this is your second award from the National Sports Media Association. I want to say you won your first back in '09. What does this one specifically mean to you?
Well, they're different, and it's interesting because I was talking to some people in Orlando that worked for the team, and the PR guy actually pointed out it's interesting that in 2009, that was probably the best Orlando Magic team. 95 and '09 were the two best teams in team history. So I was broadcasting in 2009 for that team lost the NBA Finals to the Lakers. So we're talking about one of the best teams that year in the NBA. This year, the team is one of the worst teams in the NBA. So there are different challenges, which is kind of interesting as a broadcaster too, because you asked about the difference between radio and television. There's also a huge difference between broadcasting for, if you're the team announcer, for a great team and for a horrible team. And so both awards just happen to fall. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but they happen to fall in both extremes. So that's what stands out most about the two awards.
And would you say too, if you, I mean, clearly you've worked so many different seasons for the Magic specifically, and obviously your time at UF, what, if you had to pick a moment or pick a game that, meant the most to you, what would you pick?
Well, it's really tough. I mean, that's a lot of years. You're talking about 33 years of NBA and 7
Right.
with the Gators. So you're talking about 40 years of play-by-play, probably
Wow.
close to 3,000 events. There are some that stand out. There are. I can't say that one stands out above others. There were great moments at Florida. Florida won a football championship on an interception at Kentucky in 1984. That was a great moment. Then flying back into Gainesville with the team over the stadium and seeing a packed Ben Hill Griffin Stadium with fans waiting to celebrate the team victory. That's a great moment. If there's one play, it probably would be the 1995 second round series against Chicago. Michael Jordan had come back from his baseball retirement, was playing for the Bulls. I think everybody expected Chicago to beat Orlando in that second round series. And there was a play at the end of the game. Nick Anderson stole the ball from Michael Jordan. The Bulls had the lead at the time, like 7 seconds left. Anderson had a steal. Penny Hardaway bounced a pass to Horace Grant. Grant dunked the ball for the game-winning shot. That play flipped that series from what probably would have been an easy victory in the series for Chicago, but the momentum just flipped on one play. It was a great play by Nick Anderson. It was against arguably the greatest player in the history of the NBA, Michael Jordan. It flipped an NBA playoff series. The Magic went to the finals. So, if I had to pick one moment, one big play, that would probably be it.
That's quite the play. I mean, those are the kind of moments, especially as a big underdog, you just don't see going in. I want to talk more about, kind of the unexpected the last couple of years with COVID coming in. I'm sure for you that is definitely different than what you were used to. How would you say that COVID-19 affected your work as a broadcaster?
Well, it affected all of our lives, as human beings and our professions, the way we do our jobs. For many of us, the way we look at life, taking a look at what your priorities are. I mean, it's made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. But as far as broadcasting is concerned, we went into the studio and did the entire season last year from a studio in the Amway Center, home and away. Well, home games, we were able to be in the arena. But I had never done a remote play-by-play broadcast. I know a lot of announcers have done, but we had never. We had been live for every event. So that was a big adjustment. I have to say I got used to it. And I think Jeff Turner, my partner, and I, we did a good job. We heard a lot of comments about how you couldn't tell the difference. But, those were words I cringed when I heard, because there's nothing like being present, whether courtside or even off the floor, and broadcasting a live event, and being in person. There's nothing that replaces as a professional, in my opinion. I think a lot of young broadcasters, they may get used to that. It might be the wave of the future. And if it is, then, I'm glad that I'll miss that portion
Right.
broadcasting, sportscasting history, because I've enjoyed being able to broadcast the games the way that we've always done it.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've had a lot more of these Zooms in the past couple of
Yeah,
years than ever before.
no
Um,
question.
so my last question for you, David, and thanks again for your time today. My last question for you is, for sportscasters, younger sportscasters out there like myself, what advice do you have, especially at a time like this?
Oh, well, I always tell young aspiring sportscasters to work hard, and do things. I mean, you hear this all the time: do things the right way. Don't take shortcuts. Um, I'm a person of faith. That really drives my decisions. I want to be, and I strive to be in His will every day, and take my cues from what I'm intended to do and to be in this life. So, that's the way I focus on it. And when you do that, then I feel like you make good decisions, and you work hard. You do your very best. You treat people well. You act with humility, and don't get too high, don't get too low. Appreciate the good times and understand that the bad times are just part of life. And I just encourage people to be themselves as broadcasters. Also, to operate as you are. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to. It's good. I mean, we all emulate certain things that we hear from other broadcasters, but at the core, you are the kind of people are going to hear. And when you're not yourself, when you're trying to be something that you're not on the air for 2 or 3 hours a night, if you are fortunate enough to broadcast a lot of games, especially for a team, then the true personality comes out, the true self comes out. So it's always best to just be who you are, and develop your skills, get a lot of reps, and just do it the right way. That would be my advice.
I think that's great advice. Thank you so much, David, for your time today. I really do appreciate you being here.
No problem, Jake.